right here. This is me prepping my client's natural nails. She had on acrylic, but she had broke so many of them that she just decided to pop them off. As you can see, her nail beds are healthy. I am prepping her with a 180. We have pushed her cuticles back with a diamond bit small barrel. So now we are just, again, prepping the nail bed. This is sped up, so we're not watching something for forever. Of course, we don't prep that fast. And now we're just dehydrating with 91% alcohol. I dehydrate 2 times, as you will see, but I only do one hand. I do both hands together, and then I do one hand as I start to work on. So our first primer is going to be our Young Nails Protein Bond. And I use that first so that I do not contaminate it. You will see some people use the no lift or whatever else that they use before the protein bond. I go the opposite way because you're touching that product on that nail plate, and I never want to contaminate my protein bond. Here we are applying the second coat of primer, which is going to be your no lift nail primer. And we're using Young Nails Speed Clear, of course, with Young Nails monomer. We lay that first bead close to the cuticle, and now we're just bringing it down and shaping it up. This pinky of hers is a little bit of a ski slope, and it is wider than the one on her left hand. So it takes a little bit more shaping than the one on her left hand. I hope everybody has had good holidays. Again, we're just applying that. This is typically a 1 bead method because it's an overlay. So we just apply that close to the cuticle. Typically, if your acrylic is the right consistency, because it is self-leveling, you shouldn't have to push it into the cuticle. Sometimes I do because it's a little drier. And then sometimes I have to clean it up because it's too wet. But if you have the right consistency every single time, it will self-level close enough to the cuticle based on where you put it. Now I do double dehydrate, double primer, because that is just what has worked for me. And I prefer that method. However, I'm going to talk about the misinformation of if your nails are lifting, it's always prep. That's what you hear all the time. Your prep is what the problem is. That can be true for many. However, it is not always true because application matters. What I have learned in my almost 5 years of being a nail tech is your prep can be the bomb.com, but if that application is still trash, you're going to get lifting. And what I mean by application being trash, if there's not enough product, and your client is too rough on their nails by hitting them, which hitting them anyway can cause lifting, but a rough tan client will definitely give you lifting. If it is not sealed appropriately or even around the cuticle area to where there's no huge lip, because sealing kind of sounds crazy. You're not sealing it per se, you're making it smooth so there's no lip. Um, Again, if it's not smooth around that cuticle area, then you're going to get some lifting. And I kind of get a little frustrated with um, techs who tell you it's your prep, it's your prep, it's your prep, it's your prep. It's not always your prep. Because if you are a good nail tech or a good DIYer, you've done the research. You've watched several people, you've practiced and implemented several techniques to see what works best for you, and yet you're still having issues. No one wants to tell you that you can have great prep and still get lifting. And sometimes you can have great prep, but there's not enough roughness to the surface of the nail, which will lead to lifting as well. You hear a lot of techs say, you only need a 240. We're not trying to destroy the nail plate, yada, yada, blah, blah, blah. I hate to say this because you use whatever you use and your work can be absolutely flawless and you have no lifting. But from my knowledge base, from the majority of the research I've done, you have to have some texture to that nail plate, not just removing the shine. There has to be texture. And I'm going to put a pause in that to tell you that I dehydrated for the second time on this left hand. And then started with the double priming process. Again, if you are using a 240 or more, sometimes that is not enough etching to the nail plate because you need something for the product to stick to. So if you notice that you have your prep down, you have your application down, but your nails are still lifting, I would look at what grit or what diamond bit that you are using to prep the nail plate. I'll probably get a little bit of hate for this, but I like anywhere from a 120 to a 180. The one in the middle is 150 because I have found that some people's nail plate 180 does not work for them. And I know that sounds crazy, but it is what it is. And you're probably like, how'd you get a 150? Well, Young Nails used, one of their educators uses a 150 or used to. Uh, so I was like, let me try that. I tried that. It works as well. But sometimes you just have clients who the 180 doesn't work for. I think skill is one of the biggest things as it relates to doing nails. And when I say that, I mean putting in the time, the research, the effort to try things to see what works and what doesn't work. And when I say that, I mean you hear people bash people all the time for still using sanding bands or uh, mandrel bands instead of diamond bits, using 180 grit instead of 240, using 150 instead of 240 or 180, using 120 instead of 180. You hear all the hate, which we're not going to participate in. This channel is not for hate, it is for love. The love of doing nails, watching nails, and creating little miniature pieces of artwork, along with some information that I've collected over the years. With that being said, skill is about research, practice, implementation, things like that. So the more you learn, the better you are, which means if you happen to want to use a 120, all you have to do is know what speed and how much pressure to apply. And that is easily learned by practicing on a number of things. You can practice on an artificial nail with speeds, turning it up to see how much it roughs up the nail with the amount of pressure you put on it. You can use fruits or eggs, as some instructors have done over the years with their students to teach them how to use an e-file, which I agree with. Now we're going to put a pause on that. We are now at filing, and this is a extra fine 5-in-1, and I use it to shape and debulk the nail. But anyway, you can practice those things on a variety of things. Like, nobody wants to waste fruit or eggs. So, I mean, the cheapest thing to do would be buy artificial nails. I would probably get like extra long ones so that way you can mark the sections. Like, this is, you can map them out with a piece of paper. This nail, section 1 is 120 grit, speed 13 with heavy pressure. I'm just saying, don't actually do that because you're going to tear somebody's nail plate up. But that was just an example of how you would map it out to see what the difference is, because you can see the texture as well as feel the texture. And those things will help you in your journey. I am all for education, research, implementation, practice, and finding the journey that is best for you. That's why I don't bash products, because research is very valuable, and knowing what to do with products, how to use them, is crucial and essential. And now we are filing with our 180 grit. I never waste my sanding bands, so they always file the surface of the nail after product application, and then we go in and shape with a hand file. This saves my wrist. Now, some people like hand filing more than using an electric file. Hey, knock yourself out. If you're only doing 1 or 2 clients a day, that might actually work. If you have more, which some days I have up to 4 clients, hand filing doesn't work. And now we are into hand filing, which is just for the shape and refining any areas that might be still too thick. But anyway, going back to the uh, prep and application part, please just do your research. I'm not saying spend a bunch of money to be out here trying this, that, and the third. What I'm saying is, if you buy something and it doesn't work, then take what little pieces you have. Like if you have clients and the tips you clip off of the end, keep them so you can practice with them. The tips that you buy that no one ever uses, like the zeros and double zeros and those kind of things, practice on those. They're waste, they're trash. You hardly ever use them unless you cut them down to fit somebody's nails, which I do, depending on um, the situation. I also measure my nails against each other. I do not particularly care for nails that are uneven, although the nail bed is uneven. I feel like as a nail tech, we are supposed to make things aesthetically pleasing. So you have different shaped nail beds. So yeah, your nail beds can be very uneven, and you will need to measure them together to get the correct length so that everything is aesthetically pleasing. You'll see some people who want their nails real short, and then they have that one or two wide nail beds on their fingers that are already short nail beds, and then they have the rest of them that are long, and it looks like we chipped or broke the nail. Now, some clients are okay with that. Um, but as a nail tech, I personally prefer let's make them even so they are, again, like I said, aesthetically pleasing. However, if a client tells me they don't want that, and so be it, I won't do that. But I have never to this day had a client that says, please don't make my nails even. Now we have switched over to, I always do a base coat on top of my acrylic to help my gel polish stick. I do not buff any nails before base coat. Base coat is my double-sided sticky tape. It is also my filler for scratches because everything is filed with a 180 unless we're doing square. But anyway, so yeah, I hope those are some tips that'll help you guys. Now we are getting into the design. Please forgive me, I have ADD, so I'm all over the place when it comes to talking, which is one of the reasons why I don't like talking in my videos. This is blue and gold foil that was in my iGel mystery box several years ago. It's on this channel somewhere, or a couple of years ago, something like that. I'm just taking it, flipping it so that we get the blue and the gold and applying it to that base coat. You can do as much or as little of this as you would like. So I have now gotten it all applied. I am using one of my Beetle shell brushes to push it down and get it as flat as possible. And sometimes doing that breaks up the foil a little bit more, which is why you see it crumble. Then we go ahead and we apply another base coat to that. And we're doing that to seal in the foil because if you don't seal in the foil, the color could bleed or run. Now we are applying a top coat. The top coat will go for the chrome that you're going to see me apply. And it's best to, I always put down a base coat on whatever I'm doing before I put a top coat down for a chrome. It's just my personal opinion. It works better that way for me. And here we are with the chrome, applying it. The chrome, the top coat was cured for 30 seconds. And then we're using a light blue colored chrome. And we're just rubbing that in on top. which obviously gives the nail a different look. And then I'm going to dust that with the dust brush and then rub it even more with a sponge, which I cut out because it's extra. And then I always coat my chrome with base coat again. And yes, I know some of you are probably like, oh my God, those are going to be super thick. Most of my clients, I have a rough on their nails, but my base coat's extra thin, so it doesn't even matter. Now we're going to go in with white gel paint, not polish. Polish will run on base coat, so you want something thicker. And I did this on top of the base coat because, again, things stick so much better. Now we're just doing some abstract half circles. And we're alternating sides. And the gel paint is me a secret. And I say that because I find that it is high quality and well worth the money that it costs because it's about $8 or $9. So it might be more now. When I bought it, it was somewhere around $8 or $9 per piece. But the pots will last you a while because it's highly pigmented. You can use it as pat gel if you like. I posted that on one of my social medias, not sure which one. Uh, Now we're going with the middle nail. We're doing a little bit different of a design. We're just putting abstract V lines. And the thumb and pointer finger got the half circles. When the design repeats so much, I typically just try to cut it so you guys don't get bored. And now we're going in with the Elite 99 gel paint, which also is a great gel paint. It's highly pigmented. It works very well. However, you can no longer get it in America. I have not found any more of it available at all. And I apologize for the blur. I'm trying to be better with getting better angles for you guys to see what I'm doing. But sometimes that comes with my hand being in the way. After we have finished all of the designing, we go in with our new favorite top coat, which is Gotti's Pro No Stain, No Scratch top coat. It comes in a gold bottle. I am only telling you guys these things just to be helpful. For the majority of the videos this year, probably all of them, I will not be talking about what I'm using. I did do a little mini series. I might be missing a video of these are my favorite things, which is posted up here. One of the videos I know did get deleted. But it was a builder gel video, which the builder gel's on. Anyway, we are now completely done. After top coating, oiling, and lotion, there we go.